Some of you may not be aware that SCAN has something called the Benefit Enrollment Center, and this is an opportunity for seniors, eligible seniors, to save some money. Well, who doesn't want to save money? So if you want to know more about that, just stay tuned. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to SCAN FYI. My guest today is Susan Salvanto. Good morning, Susan.
Good morning, Andrea. How are you today?
Hey, I'm doing very well. And for those of you who don't know Susan, she heads up our Benefit Enrollment Center. And Susan, why don't you just take a moment, tell everyone a little bit about who you are, what is the BEC? A lot of people may not know what it is.
So as Andrea introduced me, I'm Susan Salvanto. I've been working at SCAN in the Benefit Enrollment Center for a little over a year now. But my experience with seniors goes back probably about 40 years at this point in all different capacities. I've worked in the private sector, in the nonprofit sector, and I bring to the table a lot of experience with primarily seniors. But more about the Benefit Enrollment Center, which was launched in 2019, January of 2019. So we do have an anniversary this year, I guess 6 years. So the Benefit Enrollment Center, it's a great opportunity for seniors to capsize on benefits that they're not aware of. Okay, so basically the Benefit Enrollment Center goes out to senior communities. We go out to senior housing, to events where seniors are, and we talk to them about benefits that they are entitled to. The benefits are basically based on income eligibility, but the important thing to note is that changes every year. So as your income goes up from Social Security, which is primarily the main source of income for seniors, so does the eligibility for these benefits. So what you think you were not eligible for last year, you could possibly be eligible for this year. So the screening process, that's the first step. So with the Benefit Enrollment Center, we go out, we do a brief presentation to a group, and then individually the BEC, Benefit Enrollment Center, meets with people to talk about their financial situation, because that's the next step in seeing what you're eligible for. And even though you might not be eligible for the big ones like food stamps, you may not be aware of things that are available to you, like transportation in the community, things like that, or the VA services, or housing opportunities, things like that. So that's the next step. It's the screening. And then the wonderful thing about the program is that if you're eligible for particular things, I then meet with you again and do the applications for you, and I submit them, which is very different than being handed an application and say, complete this and send it in. So that's kind of the gist of the program.
Right. Well, first of all, I want to just point out that if you want to reach out to Susan for information on the Benefit Enrollment Center, the number's right on the screen, 732-587-5906. And you can always leave a message. And of course, Susan will get back to you. So Susan, let me ask you this. What are the kind of information that people are going to need to have with them for screening purposes for eligibility? What do they have to bring?
That's a great question, Andrea. They're simple, basic things that you have in your house. You need your letter from Social Security stating how much you get. If you're receiving any pensions or anything that's considered income, income would be considered Social Security, pensions. If you're taking an annual withdrawal from your savings, something like that. So we need proof of that. Because then that determines your eligibility. You need your insurance cards. If we're applying for a lifeline, which is a $225 credit towards your utility bill, you need your utility bills. So if it's gas or electric, you would need that. You would need a bank statement, because wherever we're applying, they need to see where your Social Security check is going. If you're renting, we need a copy of your lease. Those are the basic things that we need. If you have life insurance, things like that. If you're getting a pension, we need to see a letter that states what your pension is. And it's really important to have all those documents, because if you don't have them and we start the application, it's incomplete, right? So Typically,
Yeah.
they're not really all that difficult to get. And, once the client has them, then I could complete the application for them.
So, what are some of the benefits that people might find themselves eligible for? You mentioned the utility benefit, but what other things are
Yeah.
people potentially? Because again, everything is based on income.
Mhm.
So potentially, what other
Right.
parts of your life can we save
Yeah.
money?
So the one application we work with is the NJ Save application. That looks at three things. It looks at the utility, gas or electric. That's a $225 credit. It looks at, there's another program called Slim B, which is a Medicare savings program. It actually pays the portion of Medicare that comes out of your Social Security check. Now, of course, the income eligibility for that is rather low, but it is still out there, and some people definitely could take advantage of it. The other program is PAD. It's the prescription program. It doesn't replace your prescription program that you have. It more or less enhances it. So it's a little bit more of a help. That's the one application. There's also a program out there called LIHEAP, which is another benefit to your utilities. There's two sections for that. One's the Universal Service Fund, and the other is something called a cooling benefit. In addition, I just found out the other day that the same program does offer help for people who have oil heat in their house, which is something I just found out about. There's also a hearing aid subsidy. That's a $500 credit for each individual hearing aid. That is not for people that already have hearing aids. It would be for a new prescription. Okay. In addition to that, another program I work with is food stamps. Again, that's a great benefit to people. Attached to that, there's something called the Farmers Market Voucher, which comes out in May. Last year it was $50 credit. It's a voucher that our seniors could go to farmers markets and spend that. That runs from May through until the farmer markets aren't available anymore. But I could also talk to people about housing, which is a huge issue for seniors. I really stress how important it is to get on the wait list for senior housing. Now more because the wait list is long. That's a big one because it really helps our seniors with their finances if they're on a more of a fixed rent. And again, that's based on your income. Those are some of the things. And then the other little things I'm often reminding people about their anchor tax benefit. I'm reminding people about the transportation options that are available in Monmouth County. And, it's an individual based program. So the needs I talk to one person about may be very different than the next.
Well, one of the things at SCAN, hopefully you know by now, we are very focused on what benefits are available for people. And what do I always say? A benefit has no value if you don't know it exists. So I feel like there's many seniors out there who could potentially take advantage of this, of the Benefit Enrollment Center at SCAN. But you have to make that phone call first. 732-587-5906. And that's how it all gets started. And you can't compare yourself with anyone else because, as Susan said, this is very individual. And don't think, oh God, I'm not going to qualify for anything, because you might. But you're
Exactly.
not going to know unless you go for a free screening. That's where it all starts, right? You got to get screened.
That's true. And Andrew, the other thing is whoever is listening to this, it might not be for you, but it could be for your neighbor. It could be for a
That's right.
relative, and
That's right.
and all it is a phone call. I typically return phone calls promptly, and it's just a phone conversation. I spoke to someone the other day that didn't realize that they were eligible for many of the benefits I already spoke about. And it's definitely a worthwhile phone call.
Times are tough for a lot of people, and here is a great opportunity for seniors. You should take advantage of this. That's really all we can say. And it was just so important that we like to get out there every year and talk about the Benefit Enrollment Center. If you come to some of our lunch and learns, you'll probably meet Susan there, and you can speak to her at that time too. So take advantage of this really wonderful service for seniors. Is there a minimum age that you have to be to take advantage of this, Susan?
Yes, it is 65, or if you're disabled.
Okay, all right. So I feel like this is a very inclusive program. And if you want to know more, absolutely make that phone call, reach out to Susan. All right. Well, Susan,
Yes, please give me a call.
thank you so much for being with me today and explaining how the Benefit Enrollment Center works. And I hope now more people will. I hope you get a slew of phone calls. All right. You should only be so busy. That's a good sign. That's a great sign.
That'd be
So
wonderful.
remember,
Yeah.
out
Yep.
there, if it's important to you, it's important to us. I'm Andrea Tarr. We'll see you next time on Scan FYI. Bye, everyone, and bye,
Thanks,
Susan.
Andrea.
Thank you.